Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Rosie, and thanks for joining me on Elevate and Glow. Do you ever feel like there's a version of you waiting somewhere just beyond your current life? A version that's more confident, more fulfilled, more aligned with who you truly are. Not because they're perfect, but because they've stopped letting fear make all the decisions. Today, we're talking about that version of you. The one that's waiting. Welcome to Becoming, a podcast about transformation, purpose, courage, and creating a life that reflects who you truly are. Today's episode is called The Version of You That Is Waiting. Because somewhere between who you've been and who you're capable of becoming lies the most important journey you'll ever take. Most people don't wake up one day and completely transform their lives. Transformation begins much more quietly than that. It starts with dissatisfaction, a feeling that something isn't quite right. Not because life is terrible, but because part of you knows you're capable of more. The problem is that many of us mistake our current circumstances for our identity. We say,
"This is just who I am. I'm not confident. I'm not a leader. I'm not creative. I'm not capable of that."
but what if those statements aren't truths? What if they're simply stories you've repeated for so long that they started sounding like facts? The version of you that's waiting isn't a completely different person. They're you. Without some of the fear. Without some of the limiting beliefs. Without the constant need for permission. Think about who you could become if you stopped defining yourself by your worst moments. What if your future wasn't determined by your past mistakes? What if your next chapter wasn't limited by your previous ones? Every meaningful transformation begins with a willingness to believe that change is possible. And that belief doesn't require certainty. It only requires openness. The future version of you isn't waiting for perfect conditions. They're waiting for your first step. If you've been feeling stuck, ask yourself this. What would the version of me I'm becoming do next? Not 5 years from now, not someday, but today. This has been Becoming. And remember, you don't have to become someone else. You simply have to become more fully yourself. Until next time, keep becoming. Elevate and glow.